You transmigrated into a turtle. You almost got shot by a rat right from the start. In that moment of despair, the ding sounded in your mind. Infinite evolution system activated. Just devour to gain points and level up endlessly. After completing the beginner village tests, you were about to leave your turtle parents behind. A tiny fish dared to provoke me, a divine turtle. You immediately activated massacre and swallowed it in one gulp. Just then, a black skate, 1.5 meters long, appeared ahead of you. Skate, strength 66, defense 39, speed 76, can't mess with it. Your heart skipped a beat. You quickly turned around, trying to steer clear. That creature seemed curious about your massive form, swimming circles around you. The next moment, without any warning, it charged straight at you, biting down hard on your back foot. Excruciating pain shot through you. Blood from the wound spread through the lake water. In that searing agony, a surge of uncontrollable rage rushed to your head. You opened your mouth and let out a roar of primal fury. Sexy provocation. Don't run. Massacre in an instant. A dense black light erupted from your entire body. All your stats skyrocketed tenfold. That skate sensed a fatal danger, turned its head, and tried to flee. Too late. You whipped around, moving so fast you left an afterimage in the water, and bit down directly on its body. Killed skate. Free points +9. Instant kill. But the scent of blood attracted more trouble. 5 or 6 large fish were charging at you from all directions. You glanced at the massacre countdown. Only 7 seconds left. A fierce glint flashed in your eyes. Killed horse ghost fish. Free points +10.4. Killed blackface fish. Free points +13. With a massive 200 points in strength, defense, and movement speed, you were practically invincible in this shallow water zone. You didn't even bother checking your stats. Just went straight for the biggest ones. Just then, a massive dark shadow shot up from below at lightning speed. It was a water python, at least 5 meters long. Massacre time remaining, 5 seconds. Without hesitation, you charged straight at the black water python. Black water python, adult stage, strength, 12, defense, 80, speed, 150. Skill, strangle, when coiled around an opponent, strength multiplied by 3, and a narrow path. The brave wins. You made a split-second decision. Instead of retreating, you advanced, rushing straight toward it. The black water python clearly didn't expect you to dare attack head-on. It opened its massive jaws, aiming for your head, but just as it got within 3 meters of you, you used the water's momentum to swing your turtle claw, slapping it with all your might. Then, with 200 points of strength, you sent its head snapping sideways. Seizing the opportunity, you open your triangular beak wide, and with all your strength, bite down sideways, locking onto its skull. Killed black water python. 3 points +43. You didn't even have time to savor the victory. You immediately dropped the corpse and desperately charged toward the shore. In the last second before massacre ended, you finally burst out of the water, chose the nearest patch of land, and crawled up in exhaustion. Enduring the searing pain in your back foot, you muttered to yourself. Status, name, Jiang Chuan. Race, black profound turtle. Strength, 21,000. Defense, 202,000. Speed, 21,000. Free points, 113. Innate divine ability. Massacre lasts 10 seconds. All stats multiplied by 10. Cooldown, 235,930 seconds. You fought it over, and decided to dump all your points into defense. Survival is what matters most, as long as you steadily develop, relying on these 10 seconds of massacre each day, to hunt in bursts. You'll eventually grow stronger, but the key is not to be reckless. Endpoints, all into defense. Defense, 1,332,000. Free points, 0. After doing all this, you found a hidden concave cave near the lake shore, and fell into a deep sleep. On your pitch-black shell 3 meters in diameter, thick, sturdy spikes gleamed with a cold light. The next day, a crackling sound woke you up. In the sky, particles imbued with energy began to fall again, and they were even larger than last time. Each one was the size of a peanut. The entire world was covered in a faint layer of spiritual essence. You looked down and saw that the wound on your back paw had healed. You immediately crawled out of the cave, and began frantically devouring the spiritual energy on the ground. Absorbing spiritual energy. Free points +1. Absorbing spiritual energy. You were stunned. This time, the spiritual energy gain was 10 times that of last time. At the same time, you noticed that in the forest, and in the lake, all living creatures were consciously devouring the spiritual energy. Although it hadn't yet reached the point of fighting over it, you guessed it was only a matter of time. Without any hesitation, you marked out a territory on the beach, using your ferocious appearance to warn all the small animals. This place is under my protection. What you didn't know was that at this very moment, all of Dragonbone, and even countless powerful beasts across the world, were doing the same thing as you. Some were even driving their entire clans to serve them, their growth rate even more terrifying than yours. At the same time, in the Dragon Kingdom's capital, An old man dressed in a mouse suit gazed at the spiritual energy outside the window, his expression filled with worry. In less than a month, a second spiritual tide had descended upon the world. Reports of mutated creatures attacking humans had piled up like a mountain. Below the chief, a middle-aged man with a 5-star rank on his shoulder spoke up. The 4 major medicine cities are being built as fast as possible. We will definitely relocate the people to safety before things spiral completely out of control. The old man sighed. Let's hope so. For 2 whole days, you forgot to eat and sleep, devouring all the spiritual energy on the nearby beach. You twisted your neck and opened your attribute panel with satisfaction. Free points, 764. You stared at this fortune for a moment, deep in thought. Simply stacking defense didn't seem like a long-term solution. Berserk Slaughter multiplies all attributes by 10, so balanced development was the true path. As long as your base attributes were high enough, activating Berserk Slaughter would make you a top-tier predator in the water. Add 200 to every attribute, put the rest into defense. The next second, your attributes were completely renewed. Strength 220/1000, Defense 497/2000, Speed 220/1000, Free points, 0. You nodded in satisfaction. But just then, the entire surface of the lake suddenly became violently agitated. From time to time, a massive dark shadow flashed by. The pressure that made your fur stand on end emanated from the depths of the water. Fortune favors the bold. After a moment's hesitation, you decided to go in. Your body, 3 meters in diameter, and fierce in appearance, entered the lake once more. But this time, everything before your eyes made your pupils contract. The creatures in the water seemed to have had their potential unlocked. As far as the eye could see, there wasn't a single fish smaller than 2 meters. The terrifying thought flashed through your mind. All life on Earth was evolving. You were just a few days ahead of the curve. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying bloodline pressure emanated from the bottomless depths of the lake. A black python, at least 30 meters long, and as thick as a water vat, was charging at you at an astonishing speed. That pressure made your mind feel numb. This was no ordinary python anymore. Calling it a flood dragon wouldn't be an exaggeration. Blackwater python, evolved beast. Power 2300, Defense 190, Speed 3566, Skill, Strangle 3x Strength. Fearsome might, intimidates the opponent, reducing combat power by 30%. Before you could even react, it had already sunk its fangs into your turtle shell. The immense force instantly broke through your defense. The wound on your shell caused you unbearable pain. Snapping back to your senses, you let out a pain roar and activated Berserk Slaughter. Your innate divine ability was instantly triggered. A fierce beast. This was what those people called a fierce beast. Its body, like a train, began to writhe, preparing to coil tightly around you. Your 3-meter-tall body is like a tiny toy being tossed aside. That is the only thought in your mind. Yet its speed far surpasses yours. Its massive black tail has already sealed off your retreat. In that split second of crisis, a flash of resolve gleams in your eyes. You lock onto its enormous head, and with all your might, you bite down fiercely. Blood from the wound instantly disperses into the lake water. The giant python, racked with agonizing pain, lashes out in fury. A thought, brimming with rage, explodes directly within your mind. You can transmit thoughts. You were stunned, but your mouth never stops. You bite down again on its wound, pressing harder. The taste of blood fills your mouth, stoking your nerves. The black light on your body grows ever denser. Dozens, hundreds of silver portals. Its massive body has already coiled around you, its terrifying force tightening every muscle in your frame. Your turtle shell groans under the pressure, and pain racks you once more. You glance at its wounded neck, then suddenly open your triangular jaws wide, mustering your last strength to bite down on its vital spot. The giant python's head instantly loses support, separating from its body. Killing the Blackwater python beast grants you 3 points, and 4 or 5 points. Yet the crisis is far from over. The python's death throes, a primal instinct, tighten their grip on you even more. Add all points to strength. You roar with all your might. Strength 6,701,000. 3 points, 0. Under the boost of the killing spree, your strength skyrockets to a terrifying 6,700 points. Then, with your overwhelming power, you forcibly break free from the water-thick python body. All of this happens within mere seconds. The killing spree time ends. You dare not linger for even a moment. Dreading your heavily wounded body, you desperately swim toward the shore. Behind you, massive segments of the python's corpse float on the lake's surface, blood spreading through the water. This scene is precisely captured by a Dragon Kingdom satellite. Exhausted, you return to your cave and fall into a deep sleep. What you didn't know was, 1,000 miles away, at a monitoring facility in the northern Dragon Kingdom, they have already locked onto this lake where you are. The next morning, the roar of several fighter jets shatters the forest's tranquility, circling above the lake where you dwell. You hide in your cave, your cold gaze watching it all. Soon, pairs of soldiers, fully equipped, descend from the sky. carrying professional gear as they approach the lakeshore. They immediately begin examining the giant python's corpse. Curry, something capable of killing this must still be nearby. You listen quietly to their conversation. Minutes later, a soldier wearing glasses runs toward the middle-aged man in charge. Report, initial examination shows this python is about 32 meters long. Its strength has reached the third-tier beast level. You clearly see the color drain from the middle-aged man's face. Third-tier beast, are you sure? His voice trembles. Confirmed. Energy residue tests indicate no less than that. The middle-aged man mutters to himself. Spiritual energy has only revived for less than 2 months. The strongest human awakened is only at the second rank. How are we supposed to face this disaster? Just then, a communication device on the middle-aged man sounds, and a virtual projection appears before him. An old man with 3 stars on his shoulder. What's the situation? Reporting, sir. Test results show third-tier beast. The old man in the projection visibly narrows his eyes sharply. Third-tier beast, the strongest among the major sect's disciples, has only just broken through to the second rank. And now you tell me a third-rank beast has appeared? After a long silence, the old man calms himself and says sternly, be careful. A third-tier beast is a treasure from head to tail. It must be brought back. Also, collect 10,000 test samples. Be wary, there's surely a stronger presence nearby. The call ends. The commander on the beach is face heavy, scans the area and roars, speed it up. You keep your eyes fixed on him, not daring to breathe. Suddenly, the middle-aged man whips his head around, his gaze locking directly onto the direction of your cave. Damn, I've been spotted. Your heart tightens. Yet he only glanced at you before looking away, as if it were just a routine observation. That afternoon, as the fighter jets rumbled away into the distance, you finally breathed a sigh of relief and crawled out of the cave. No matter how the world changes, one must rely on their own strength. You silently resolved, as long as humans don't provoke me, I won't provoke them either. But for some reason, that overwhelming sense of being locked onto, that immense crisis, still lingered over your head, refusing to leave. You shook your head, and opened your status panel. Your innate divine ability had finished its cooldown. Without hesitation, you dove into the water again. After the giant monster died, this shallow water area had instead become a paradise for all kinds of large fish. The moment you entered the water, you saw a giant turtle, covered in golden scales, about the same size as you. The moment it saw you, it was so terrified it turned and fled. You no longer hesitated. You activated the slaughter mode. Killed grass carp king, free points plus 18. Killed white-faced fish, free points plus 12. Throughout the entire night, you hunted ceaselessly in the lake. Wherever you went, prey fell before you. At dawn, you sensed several dangerous auras beneath the lake, beginning to awaken, so you decisively returned to land. But the moment you stepped ashore, you saw a black bear, 8 meters long, staring blankly at you. Black bear, initial ferocious beast, strength, 1,350, defense, 866, speed, 688, skill, bear rage strength x 2.5. Another opponent had delivered itself to your doorstep. You shook your head helplessly, and silently invoked your innate divine ability. The explosive slaughter battle was about to begin. When the black bear saw you appear, it instantly reared up on its hind legs, its height surging to 10 meters. It pounded its chest wildly, letting out a sky-shaking roar. The next second, you transformed into a massive black bolt of lightning, charging straight at it. Before you, with the slaughter mode activated, all its roars and intimidation were utterly useless. You didn't even give it a chance. You used your inverted triangular jaws to bite straight for its vital spot. Killed black bear, initial ferocious beast, free points plus 110. In the face of absolute power, everything is just a paper tiger. Your innate divine ability had 7 seconds left. You instantly locked your gaze onto the other creatures shrinking by the lake. Wuxia black shadow flashed by. A wild ox, 10 meters long, crashed to the ground. Killed wild ox, initial ferocious beast, free points plus 70. How the 4 or 5 wild wolves by the lake instantly went on alert, staring at you in terror. They surrounded you, watching. That wolf king, its body radiating a faint cyan light, sensed a trace of danger. Or, cyan wolf king, second level peak ferocious beast, strength, 1,700, defense, 1,650, speed, 2,150, skill, wolf domain pack combat power x2, wolf fury instant strength x6. The slaughter mode had only 3 seconds left. You made a decisive move. You gave it no chance and lunged straight at it. The cyan wolf king saw you charging, its body blazing with cyan light, its wolf eyes instantly turning bloodshot. It was clearly about to activate its skill, but you were faster. Just before its skill activated, you had already reached it, to bite straight for its vital spot, and defeated it directly. Killed cyan wolf king, second level peak ferocious beast, free points plus 380. The slaughter mode ended. The black light on your body vanished instantly. Only then did the remaining wolves react. watching helplessly as their leader was defeated by a three-needle-on black turtle. They bared their fangs, restless and eager. You fiercely bit down on the Wolf King's corpse, sweeping your most ferocious gaze over them. After a tense standoff, the wolf pack retreated. You carried the Cyan Wolf King's corpse in your jaws and turned away. Back to the cave, you took your first bite of a ferocious beast's flesh. You tore off a chunk of wolf meat and began to chew. Consume the Green Wolf King. Free points +7. Consume the Green Wolf King. Free points +9. You froze in shock, so eating the flesh of these ferocious beasts also grants free points. Regret instantly washed over you. If you had eaten that 30-needle-on black water horse from a few days ago, how many points would that have added? But after finishing the entire Green Wolf King, you were full. That regret vanished like smoke in the wind. You lay down in the cave and opened your status panel. Free points, 910. After some thought, you realized that those powerful ferocious beasts had almost no weaknesses. You should be the same. As things stand, your innate divine ability holds a clear advantage. Even the Wolf King's strongest skill was merely a 6-fold boost in strength. This must be the gap in bloodline. Added points to attributes, +300 strength 920/1000, defense 797/2000, speed 520/1000, free points 10. Seeing that your strength attribute was nearly maxed out, you felt a surge of excitement. What would you evolve into in the next stage? The next morning, you awoke from your slumber. You found that your body had grown even larger. Your diameter had swelled to 5 meters. The spikes on your turtle shell gleamed even sharper. Under the sunlight, you realized that by devouring ferocious beast flesh, your body could grow. This discovery thrilled you. You crawled out of the cave. Your innate divine ability still had over 10 hours of cooldown. You decided to try your luck on land today. After all, the land offered a wider field of view, and the danger level was relatively lower. With your mind made up, you turned around. You headed deeper into the untrodden forest. Your massive body moved through the woods. Trees as thick as a thigh snapped and fell before you. Suddenly, you stopped in your tracks. Ahead, coiled around a sawtooth tree, was a gray serpent as thick as a thigh, over 10 meters long. You didn't even give it time to react. You opened your huge maw and killed it instantly. Killed a mid-level ferocious beast of the Kingmang rank. Free points +6. An entire day passed, and you were nearly speechless. In this jungle, you realized you were nothing short of a joke. You couldn't catch anything. Either the prey spotted you from afar and fled, or you were blocked by these thick giant trees, moving as sluggishly as a rock. So you returned to the lakeside. The view opened up, and your mood improved slightly. What rotten luck, you muttered to yourself after a whole day. You had only managed to defeat a single giant python. Unbelievable. You resolved to live in this lake from now on. The jungle was simply not suited for you. You glanced at the cooldown time of your innate divine ability. Almost ready. Tonight, you planned to hunt with all your might in the water. But just then, from the forest behind you came a thunderous, earth-shaking roar of laughter. All the small animals along the path, as if receiving a danger signal, scattered in an instant like startled birds. You could even feel the sand beneath your feet trembling slightly. Whoosh, a massive figure burst out from the woods. You fixed your gaze on it. Your pupils instantly shrank to pinpricks. It was a colossal beast. Shoulder height, 3 meters. Body length, at least 15 meters. Its ton-heavy weight pressed into the sand, each step causing the ground to vibrate rhythmically. The deadly sense of threat washed over you. You had no time to think. Your limbs retracted into your shell in a flash. The giant tiger cast a contemptuous glance at you. Then an arrogant voice exploded directly in your mind. Leave. Since I've eaten my fill today, get out of my sight immediately. Your heart skipped a beat. Checked. You poked your head out of your shell, staring at it intently. The next second, the tiger that was originally about to lower its head to drink water suddenly jerked its head around and let out a roar. You stupid turtle. Didn't you hear my words? Got it. Your guess was confirmed. You immediately turned and fled, but your mind was in turmoil. Beasts above level 3 can communicate spiritually. What exactly is this voice? As you ran, you quickly glanced back. The opponent's stats instantly popped up. Gale-winged tiger, mid-stage ferocious beast, strength 12,300, defense 11,400, speed 14,300, skills, tiger's might reduces ordinary beast combat power by 30%, tiger kill instant burst of 8x strength, tiger rush speed increased by 3x. Damn, this is the strongest beast I've ever seen. That 30-needle-on blackwater giant serpent from before would probably be just a side dish in front of this guy. You hid in the distance, your mind racing. After a moment, you made a bold decision. Temporarily attach yourself to him. First, this guy is strong, but from that conversation just now, his intelligence doesn't seem that high. Second, my ability to digest prey is limited right now, and my needs are small. If I can stick with him, I'll share the prey I catch, then while he hunts, I can sneak in and grab some scraps, earning a few free points. This deal seems doable. Of course, the premise was that he'd agree impossible. Since you'd decided, you steeled yourself, slowly crawled out of your hiding spot. On the beach, the gale-winged tiger was lying lazily, looking utterly bored. For dozens of meters around, not even a fly dared to approach. It seemed to sense you, lifted its eyelids contemptuously, then lay back down, completely disregarding you. Toad. You seized the opportunity, silently slipped into the water. The hunt begins now. One by one, 7 to 8 metalon carp were easily defeated by you. Kill, flood domain, free points plus 17. Kill, water guardian fish, free points plus 11. As dawn approached, you quietly surfaced, glanced at the gale-winged tiger sleeping soundly on the beach, and decided to give it a big gift. You dove fiercely toward the lake's center, searching for a target substantial enough. Soon, a massive creature appeared before you. Giant trap suspended fish mid-stage level 2 ferocious beast. Strength, 4,500, defense, 6,500, speed, 6,400. Skills, giant trap body twist strength multiplied by 4, heavy strike tail slam, strength, and speed multiplied by 3.5. Looking at its shark-like form, a glint flashed in your eyes. You're the one. The next moment, you activated instant kill, charging forward like a black torpedo. The immense force made the entire lake water churn. The sleeping gale-winged tiger on the shore was startled awake by the waves. It slowly raised its head, staring at the lake in confusion. 5 minutes later, under its shocked gaze, you dragged that 10-metalon giant trap suspended fish, slowly surfacing. You met its eyes and swam slowly toward the shore. Then, a few meters from the bank, you jerked your head sharply. Boom! The massive fish corpse was thrown before the gale-winged tiger. The sand was dented into a pit. Sure enough, that voice rang in your mind, this time tinged with confusion. Is this an offering to me? You watched it tilt its head, looking curious, and slowly nodded. The next second, the gale-winged tiger's face actually showed a human-like smile, its tiger mouth splitting open to reveal sharp fangs. Speak, do you have any enemies? As a trade, I'll deal with them for you. You shook your head indicating none. Then, under its gaze, you carefully crawled ashore, returning to your own cave. Your heart had been hanging like a stone, and only after hearing its words did you dare to truly come ashore. After all, who wouldn't be afraid facing a beast of this level? Watching that creature start to feast in the distance, you sighed helplessly. Sigh, why isn't my digestive system as good as his? You immediately open your own status panel. Name, Xianxia, race, black profound turtle, strength, 920/1000, defense, 797/2000, speed, 520/1000, free points, 648, innate divine ability, explosive kill countdown, 23, 58, 45, a night of hunting yielded a bountiful harvest, endpoints, max out strength and speed. Instantly, your attributes completely transformed. Your power skyrocketed to the peak of the second tier. The jet black light enveloped your entire body. The mysterious 8-trigram pattern above your head slowly rotated. A profound and ineffable sensation surged into your heart. Half an hour later, the light dissipated. You walked out of the cave, staring at Lai Feng, who was still eating on the beach. You tried to speak, Talo. The voice, though rough, was indeed produced. Lai Feng, who was busy eating, suddenly lifted his head. His gaze instantly turned extremely dangerous. He swept his eyes around. When he saw you, that fierce look shifted to a glare. It's you, his voice rang in your mind. It's me, you replied. Being able to speak aloud meant a great deal to you. Witnessing your success, you finally felt at ease. Then, the two of you, one turtle, one tiger, just stood there awkwardly. You lowered your head to study your new attributes, while Lai Feng, who looked totally baffled, not knowing why you called him over, only to say nothing. If it were anyone else who dared to ignore him like this, they would have been torn apart long ago. But considering the big fish you gave him, he held back and didn't lash out. You looked at your status panel and noticed an extra line of notes. Name, Xianxia, race, black profound turtle, peak of the second tier, strength, 1000/1000, not meeting evolution standard, defense, 797/2000, speed, 1000/1000, not meeting evolution standard, free points, 86, innate divine ability, explosive kill. You suddenly thought, being at the peak of the second tier yourself, you could go toe-to-toe with a third-tier beast. In a novel, this would be the perfect protagonist template. Thinking of this, you couldn't help but laugh. Alligator turtle, what are you laughing at? Lai Feng, whose voice carried a hint of offended fury. You quickly stopped smiling and get straight to the point. Tiger King, I want to make a deal with you. He looked down at the half-eaten giant fish on the ground, his gaze turning dangerous. The deal? With your life on the line? What qualifications do you have? You knew you had to steady him. You stared him straight in the eyes, speaking word by word. Because I can bring you on. At least peak second-tier beast every single day. Remember, every day. You noticed his eyes waver. You immediately pressed on. Tiger King, look at this lake and the world beneath it. Even I wouldn't dare claim I can work through it unchallenged. The beasts inside are inexhaustible, and I am willing to fish them up for you. Finally, Lai Fenghu licked the water stains from the corner of his mouth, and relented. Fine. From now on, you're under my protection. In this forest, I guarantee your safety. Hearing this, you shook your massive head instead. I don't need the Tiger King's protection, you said calmly. I told you, this is a deal. In return, I need the Tiger King to catch from me, every 5 days. A beast that is small in size, but at least at the peak of the second tier. I think this request shouldn't be too difficult for the mighty Tiger King, should it? You deliberately used provocation. Sure enough, the next moment, Lai Fenghu's gaze turned extremely dangerous. His aura oppressive. Are you ordering me? Do you want to be eliminated? You said nothing, just calmly, glanced at the lake water a few steps away, the meaning clear without words. Lai Fenghu looked down at the plump giant fish, then at you, and was silent for a long time. In the end, he still relented. Fine. This king agrees, but you'd better remember your promise. Otherwise, even if I have to go into the water, I will still eliminate you. The worry in your heart finally settled. As soon as Lai Fenghu finished speaking, he leaped and disappeared into the forest. Half an hour later, under your gaze, he came out carrying a yellow nitrat the size of a goat, with a single horn on its head. He gave you a contemptuous glance, and tossed the barely breathing nitrat in front of you. This king has a big appetite. I need one fish this big every 2 days. With that, he turned back to Nor on the cruising car. You quickly ran over and picked up that nitrat. Don't worry, 1 a day is enough. You looked down at the prey in your mouth. Mutated nitrat, level 3 early stage ferocious beast. Strength 2750, defense 2010, speed 4250, skill, infection after biting a target, reduces its strength and defense by 1000. You nodded in satisfaction, bit into its vital spot and defeated it. Defeated, mutated nitrat, level 3 early stage, free points plus 3 speed, using mutated nitrat, free points plus 120 wrong. This small size is just right. You swallowed it in a few bites, then returned to the cave to rest. As soon as it got dark, you worked out of the cave, glanced at Lai Feng snoring on the beach, and plunged straight into the lake. Tonight's goal, hunt enough to meet the purification conditions. The lake's surface was calm under the night sky, but beneath, currents churned fiercely. A hunting operation officially began. Defeated Blackwood fish, level 1 ferocious beast, free points plus 137. Defeated yellow lobster, level 1 ferocious beast, free points plus 176. Defeated. The thick smell of blood even drifted to the shore, making the sleeping Lai Feng lick his lips uneasily like a tiger. But what you didn't know was, in the pitch-black lake depths, the giant crab the size of her house slowly opened its blood-red eyes. Just then, you sensed your innate divine ability had finished cooling down. You were about to dive a bit deeper to prepare a surprise breakfast for the Tiger King. Just then, an unprecedented sense of crisis instantly enveloped you. You jerked your head up and saw a house-sized creature with blood-red eyes charging at you at terrifying speed. Innate divine ability, explosive kill. Without a second thought, you activated your skill instantly. Only then did you see its stats clearly. Ironline crab, level 4 early stage ferocious beast, strength 11,200, defense 13,000, speed 10,200, skill, armor break, defense plus 5,000, precision strike, strength x6, in war, speed x3. Damn it. Your scalp tingled as you turned and fled. This creature's skills were a perfect combo, full enhancement of attack, defense, and speed. Even with your explosive kill activated, you were absolutely no match for it. Boom. You burst out of the water with all your might. The lake surface exploded into a massive splash, but the next second, a sharp pain shot through your hind leg. It was already clamped tight in one of its giant pincers. You ignored everything else and shouted at the top of your lungs, "Tiger King, save me." At the same time, you twisted your body violently, using every ounce of strength. You forcibly wrenched that giant pincer open and damaged it. The searing pain enraged the giant crab completely. An irresistible force surged, treading you underwater instantly. Just as you were about to be fully pulled under, out of the corner of your eye you caught a glimpse of a yellow lightning bolt mixed with wild green fury, racing toward you across the water's surface. At the moment you were dragged underwater, the lake surface exploded again. Lai Feng's speed was extreme. He was actually running on the water. The next second, he plunged straight into the water. His whole body blazed with golden light. Clearly, he had also activated his divine ability. Seeing this, you steeled yourself, turned around and dove back in. Tiger King, take out his other pincer first. You roared. Underwater, Lai Feng's fierce gaze locked onto the giant pincer gripping you. His thick tiger tail lashed out like a steel whip. The giant pincer was knocked clean off. You glanced at your remaining 6 seconds of explosive kill time and made a split-second decision. While the giant crab's full attention was on the Tiger King, you swam with all your might beneath it, and using your hardest tortoise shell, you rammed upward with force. Power reaching tens of thousands, instantly sent this house-sized giant crab flying out of the lake. The fierce-wind tiger understood immediately and burst out of the water. Just as the giant crab was about to hit the water, The tiger's tail lashed out again, like swinging a baseball bat, sending it flying viciously onto the sandy beach. The dragon rides the clouds, the tiger rides the wind. Before you could react, the Tiger King had already appeared on the beach. Its massive tiger paw, carrying the force of 10,000 soldiers, slammed heavily onto the crab's shell. The hard shell instantly cracked all over. The arrow shell crab also turned into a black shadow and charged ashore, its barb-covered front paw slamming down on its head, with a heavy, killing blow. Iron Blood Level 4 Early Stage Beast free points added to 850. But before you could celebrate, a foul wind struck from the side. The fierce wind tiger's steel whip-like tail suddenly whipped across your body. Boom! You were sent flying like a ball for dozens of meters, crushing heavily to the ground. The fierce wind tiger's eyes were bloodshot, and it growled fiercely, "Dared to steal my prey?" You felt your entire shell about to shatter, huge cracks spreading from your back. You struggled to get up and turn your head back coldly to look. That was originally the breakfast I prepared for you. Hearing this, the fierce wind tiger's bloodshot eyes slowly cleared. You knew it had been blinded by battle rage, but you remembered this debt. Seeing the miserable state of your cracked shell, the fierce wind tiger seemed a bit embarrassed. It said stiffly, "From now on, when this king hunts, don't interfere." It fought for a moment, then added, "Considering you're injured, this king allows you to skip paying tribute for the next week. Of course, this king will still grant you a beast of level 2 or above." You didn't answer. You just dragged your broken body, step by step, painfully toward the cave. With every step, your shell creaked and groaned. Your body was covered in wounds, and the seeping blood left a faint trail on the sand. "Fierce wind tiger," you muttered in your heart, "I was planning to use you a while longer, but it seems that's no longer necessary. Once I finish this evolution, I will settle things with you for good." You immediately open your attribute panel. Name, Xianxia, severely injured. Race, black profound turtle. Peak level 2. Strength, 1000/1000. Defense, 1000/2000. Speed, 1000/1000. Free points, 1860. Innate divine ability, violent slaughter. Add all points to defense. A surge of unprecedented, dense pitch black light burst from the Baguio pattern above your head, completely engulfing you. "I don't know how long pest." A voice echoed in your mind, evolvable. You slowly opened your cold, jewel eyes. Without a moment's hesitation, you walked straight out of the cave. Under the fierce wind tiger's wary gaze, you dragged your scarred body, without looking back, heading deep into the jungle. You found a relatively open area, and stepped. Then, in your mind, you began to filter through evolution paths. One by one, images of mighty giant turtles flashed by. Mountain turtle, sky-touching turtle, heavenly tyrant turtle. Finally, your gaze locked onto a giant black turtle, over 10 meters tall, and nearly 100 meters in diameter, exuding an aura of overwhelming might. It was the Beast Bloodline Turtle. You're the one, you made your choice. Evolution, Beast Bloodline Turtle. The next second, your consciousness sank into endless darkness. At the center of the entire Immortal Ridge Great Forest, waves of suffocating, oppressive energy began to spread. The pitch-black light that had enveloped you, after you made your choice, began to frantically shift toward a star-like red. The two colors fiercely merged on your shell, intertwining for an entire day and night. For 10 miles around, all was silent. Every living creature trembled under this terrifying aura. Finally, as the black-red light faded, your new body was revealed. Your original 5-meter diameter turtle body had surged to 8 meters. Your shell remained pitch black as ink, but with every breath you took, magma-like star-red patterns flow across the tortoise shell, flashing with an imposing aura. Its limbs and tail are covered in layers of black keratin armor, and the bone spikes on its tail have grown thicker and more powerful. A casual flick sends bursts of wind whistling through the air. The most intimidating part is your head. On top, a pair of sword-like sharp horns have grown, and the triangular mouth opens and closes, exuding a powerful presence. You slowly open your eyes, blood-red pupils glowing, but after a few seconds, they shift to a deep azure blue. Feeling the explosive power within your body, you nod in satisfaction. Attributes, name Xianxia, growth stage race, Chulu blood return. 3rd level early stage, strength 1,500,000, defense 2,100,000, speed 1,500,000. Free points, 653, innate divine ability, violent slaughter lasts 10 seconds. All attributes boosted to full power, lasting 1 hour. Defense attribute, honest, can reflect 100% of all physical attack damage. Dozens, hundreds of silver portals, and the distant coast of Xianxia, shells rain into the sea like a downpour, yet they cannot stop the endless tide of ferocious beasts. Retreat, all units retreat. Call headquarters, request heavy fire support. In the sky, squadrons of warplanes are damaged one after another. And the sea, massive warships suffer heavy blows. Humanity's modern military retreats step by step before the overwhelming beast tide. Inside the highest command room of the Dragon Kingdom, a dead silence falls. All high-ranking officials stare at the screens, witnessing a scene like the apocalypse. Their faces are grim for a long time. Finally, a military bigwig breaks the silence. Commander, the 4 fortresses are initially completed. What do you think? The old man in the gentian suit at the head seat wearily closes his eyes. The war begins. His eyes become utterly resolute. Notify the entire nation to evacuate to the 4 fortresses. Order all troops to spare no cost in escorting the people to safety. Viewed from space, and the map of Xianxia, 4 massive black dots stand towering, the last line of defense built with a nation's full strength, and the steel walls hundreds of meters high. Humanity's most advanced weapons are mounted. In the ruins of a fallen city, a little girl wails loudly. Her mother, her woman with dust and scars on her face, holds her tightly in her arms, her eyes hollow as she hides in a corner. Just then, the phone screen in the woman's pocket flickers faintly. She grabs it like a last lifeline, trembling as she pulls it out. Fellow countrymen, the world has changed drastically. Our homes are shattered, but the nation will not abandon anyone. The People's Army has arrived at designated areas. Please head to assembly points immediately. We will escort everyone to the 4 fortresses, the national satellite network. At that moment, countless people hiding in city corners, already in despair, see in their eyes a light called hope reignite. Half a day later, you emerge from the forest, and the beach, Lai Fenghu, lies lazily on the giant crab shell. When you appear, he suddenly stands up, his gaze locked on you, full of vigilance and shock. He sniffs the air hard, then asks uncertainly in your mind, "Is it you?" Your pair of sharp horns on your head gleam coldly in the sunlight. "It's me," you reply in a hoarse but powerful voice. After confirming your identity, he relaxes slightly and lies back down, but his demeanor has lost its former casualness. If it weren't for a trace of familiar aura on you, this king really wouldn't have recognized you. You ignore him, working with heavy steps toward the lake. Just as you're about to enter the water, you turn your head to look at him, and say calmly, "Our agreement still stands." With that, you sink into the lake, and the short, Lai Fenghu stares at your disappearing back, his eyes gradually darkening. "This guy's strength is skyrocketing too fast. I'll use you for a few more days." Wait for this king to emerge from the water, with a massive body 8 meters in diameter. It could already be considered a behemoth. You dive with only one goal, to hunt and kill ferocious beasts. Kill the sacrificial skyfish, a peak first-tier ferocious beast, 3 points plus 250. Kill the black tiger fish, a peak second-tier ferocious beast, 3 points plus 450. Your hunting journey begins anew. At dawn, you keenly sense that deep within the lake, 2 terrifying auras that make your heart tremble are awakening. You made a decisive move. Surface immediately. Just then, a massive shadow, like a train, flashes past beneath you. In that instant, all the scales on your body instinctively tighten. You dare not linger, and accelerate toward the water's surface. In the water, you see a monster 15 meters long, round and plump all over, like a hot air balloon. Bloodfun butt, a mid-third tier ferocious beast. Strength, 8,650. Defense, 7,200. Speed, 9,800. Skill, Toxin reduces opponent's 3 stats by 8,000. Ball form, body instantly turns spherical. Defense doubles. You sense that the terrifying aura below has already departed, and immediately lock your fierce gaze onto this bloodborne butt. It also notices you. Wagging its tail, it curiously transmits a thought. "What a strange turtle. You want to kill me?" You answer with action. Brutal kill. Activate town. Activate lion and rabbit with full power. A few seconds later, this bloodfun butt, still underestimating you, is bitten in a vital spot by you, and easily defeated. When the sun rises, you surface on time, and throw this massive bloodfun butt before Lai Fenghu. Lai Fenghu senses the corpse's aura, and exclaims in surprise, "A third-tier beast?" You climb ashore, as if remembering something. You kindly warn, "This thing is a bit poisonous. Handle it yourself." Lai Fenghu just sniffs it, and says disdainfully, "This kind of common poison is useless against this king." With that, he buries his head and devours it. You walk to the other side of the beach and lie down. Your original cave can no longer accommodate you. Watching the Tiger King feast, you are surprised to find that you too feel hungry. It seems that after evolution, your digestive system has also been greatly enhanced. Just then, Lai Fenghu, enjoying his prey, glances at you, as if pondering something. After a moment, he leaps into the forest. 2 hours later, accompanied by a tiger's roar, he emerges carrying a 3-meter-long golden pangolin shimmering all over, and casually tosses it before you, then returns to his bloodfun butt. You look at the prey on the ground, its scales shattered, barely clinging to life. You bite into its vital spot, ending its breath. Kill golden pangolin, mid-third tier ferocious beast, 3 points plus 886. You glance at that Lai Fenghu in the distance, still enjoying the bloodfun butt's corpse. You can't be bothered to look further. Lowering your head, you swallow the golden pangolin at your feet in one gulp. Consume golden pangolin, mid-third tier ferocious beast, 3 points plus 270. A feeling of fullness surges up, You helplessly shake your head. Just one beast and you're half full. It seems relying solely on eating is too inefficient. Attributes. You silently recite in your mind. Name, Jiang Chuan. Growth stage, race, beast turtle, bloodline, 3rd tier early stage, strength, 1000/50,000, defense, 2000/100,000, speed, 1000/50,000, free points, 4,653, innate divine ability, brutal kill, lasts 10 seconds, all attributes increase, honesty, lasts 1 hour, defense, attribute, honesty, can reflect all strength with 100% damage. Looking at this string of numbers, your goal is crystal clear, good, con, ferocious beasts give more and more points. Lai Feng, your defeat is not far off. The next moment, you made your decision without hesitation, adding 1,000 points each. The rest all went into defense. The moment the words fell, a streak of pure, extreme black light instantly enveloped you. Half an hour later, the light faded. You slowly opened your eyes. You looked at the attribute panel again. Name, Jiang Zhu. Growth stage, race is Shu Lu Zhu Dui. Early 3rd level, strength, 2,500,000. Defense, 4,653,100,000. Speed, 2,500,000. Free points, 0. In the distance, that fierce wind tiger seemed to sense your change, but it only glanced at you lazily. Its eyes were full of contempt. Just that one glance made the battle intent in your heart boil over completely. You fixed your gaze on it again, as if trying to see through it. Fierce wind, mid-4th level ferocious beast. Strength, 14,300. Defense, 12,400. Speed, 15,300. Skill, mighty tiger slash, 8x strength. Skill, wins momentum, 3x speed. Damn it, haven't seen it in a few days, and this thing has gotten stronger too. Defeating it would be extremely difficult. If it just uses one skill, with hundreds of thousands of attack power, one slap could crush you flat. You lowered your head in for it, your gaze falling on your own legs. The talent shock deals 100% damage. Sounds impressive, but the prerequisite is that you have to survive that hit first. Survive. Wait, you suddenly lifted your head, staring intently at the fierce wind tiger's attributes. A crazy idea sprouted in your mind. Right, I've been too narrow-minded. Why should I compete with it in attack power? As long as my defense is higher than its attack power, when it slaps down, won't it just be the one injured by the backlash? Thinking of that arrogant fierce wind, slapping you on the back, and then being wounded by its own force rebounding, you couldn't help but reveal a sly smile. The plan was set. You simply lay down on the beach, and began to rest and conserve your strength. At dusk, the sky darkened. The creature had already risen its massive body, ready to enter the water. These past 2 days, you had more than once sensed that fierce winged tiger, throwing you a hoarse glare. Before diving into the lake, its huge head turned around, glaring fiercely at you, as if to say just you wait. Then it plunged headfirst into the water. Killed water source light, a peak 2nd level ferocious beast. Free points plus 450. 8 water source light, a peak 2nd level ferocious beast. Free points plus 230. Killed blood Esther, a mid 2nd level ferocious beast. Free points plus 340. Consumed. The entire night, you hunted with all your might in the lake, targeting only those small-bodied, but strongly energy-active ferocious beasts. At dawn, just as the sky was barely light, you glanced at your attributes. Satisfied, you casually grabbed a large black fish over 10 meters long, and surfaced. That night, you had accumulated a total of 5,200 free points, all into defense. You silently chanted in your heart. The next moment, your attribute changed again, defense 9,853,100,000. You slowly swam toward the shore, looking at that fierce wind tiger, a cold laugh in your heart. Give me one more day. Tomorrow will be the day of your downfall. The fierce wind tiger lifted its head, staring coldly at you, showing no weakness. You suddenly threw the large black fish in your mouth in front of it. Whined, today's catch is a bit poor. Tomorrow, I'll catch you a level 3 one. It lowered its head to look at that early 2nd level blackfish. Its eyes flickered for a moment, but in the end, it didn't lash out. It buried its head and started eating. You, on the other hand, returned to the other side of the beach, lay down to rest. Just then, in the distant sky, a gust of wind came. A massive fighter jet trailing black smoke, like an out-of-control iron pot, wind brushing against clothes, plunged headlong into the distant forest, staring fixedly at the plume of black smoke shooting into the sky. Silent and wordless, the martial king also lifted his head, his roar filled with contempt for the human's reckless ambition. This forest will be mine sooner or later, isn't it now? You asked casually. The Tiger King's face darkened. He sneered. The Grey Wolves to the west. The Wolf King is also at the mid-4th stage. To the south, there's a black serpent. I heard the Toad to the east has already left the forest and into the human city. You nodded, filing this information away in your mind. For him to speak so highly of them, They must all be experts on his level. In the afternoon, you woke from a nap and found your body had grown another size larger, your diameter now exceeding 10 meters, your shell thick and heavy, your aura imposing. Just as you prepared to enter the water again, you looked at the Tiger King's back. A trace of killing intent slipped out before you could stop it. HMPH, the Gale Wind Tiger suddenly whipped around. Its aura instantly locked onto you. You dare show killing intent toward me. Your heart jolted. Damn it. This beast's senses are far too sharp. You can't fall out with him yet. You immediately turned your head and looked at a group of rats drinking by the lake. Your gaze instantly turned icy. I remembered a time before, when I was nearly swarmed by a pack of rats. Seeing them makes me lose control a little. The Tiger King followed your gaze and saw those black rats over a meter long, then let out a mocking laugh. Interesting. Seeing that he'd been fooled by you, you breathed a sigh of relief and immediately dove into the water. In the pitch-black lake water, you hunted while thinking. Clearly, this lake area had been nearly hunted clean by you. Fewer and fewer beasts could satisfy your needs. You frantically chased the remaining energy in the water. In just one night, the vast lake, apart from those two oars at the bottom that made even you feel a chill of terror, had been almost completely swept clean by you. Looks like there's nothing left to gain here. And stepped. Then, your gaze turned toward the bottomless valley depths, as if sensing your stare. The next moment, an indescribably terrifying pressure and abyss suddenly surged forth, instantly locking onto you. The entire lake rippled with visible waves. The moment you were locked on, you immediately opened your status panel. Free points, 3,800. Add all points to defense. You silently chanted in your heart. Just then, you caught a fleeting glimpse of a massive black eye at the lake bottom, like a train cart, rushing upward at terrifying speed full of hostility. You spun around abruptly and swam frantically toward the shore and the bank. The previously lazy Gale Wind Tiger also sensed that terrifying aura. Instantly alert, it let out a earth-shaking roar. You had just burst out of the water when you felt that terrifying presence beneath the surface, getting closer and closer to you. You dare not linger. Your forelimbs scrambled desperately, digging deep into the sand. But the Gale Wind Tiger, instead of retreating, advanced, rushing straight to the lake's edge and roaring madly at the surface, declaring its dominance. The next moment, the lake exploded with a boom. A twisted, car-sized head burst out of the water, taking in everything. Seeing this, you didn't hesitate and retreated several hundred meters into the forest behind. At that moment, with the lake as the center, all fell silent. I have cultivated for decades, and you, little cat, dared to challenge me? A rumbling voice resounded directly in your mind. That black serpent, impossibly long, slowly slithered onto the sandy shore, its body, over 5 meters thick, already stretching nearly to the woods where you had been. You looked at it, your scalp tingling. The Gale Wind Tiger's 10-meter frame seemed like a mere toy before it, but you can clearly sense, although Nifeng's tiger is at a size disadvantage, his aura is in no way weaker. Blackwater Horse King, late-stage ferocious beast, strength, 33,000, defense, 26,800, speed, 29,600. Dragon form, strength multiplied by 4, Dairo-chan, strength multiplied by 8, water spray. You quickly analyze the situation. The two sides are evenly matched. Nifeng's tiger is a top-tier ferocious beast. Its skill bonuses are more formidable, but its base stats at this level are at a disadvantage. Is a gentle overlord. The Raging Wind Tiger has never endured such humiliation. It roars and lunges straight forward. Little tiger, you have successfully angered me. The giant python suddenly opens its massive maw and strikes forward. Just as you think the Raging Wind Tiger will be swallowed in one bite, a faint golden yellow light flows around its body. The giant python's movements instantly freeze. Then the Raging Wind Tiger's limbs move with ease. It speeds so fast it leaves after images. In an instant, multiple wounds appear on the giant python's body. Energy ripples scatter in all directions. Two top-tier ferocious beasts directly turn this forest upside down. In outer space, a Dragon Kingdom satellite emits a faint hum, instantly locking onto this forest. Inside the Eastern Fortress, all high-ranking Dragon Kingdom officials stare in shock at the satellite. Blurry images transmitted back. This is a dragon-type ferocious beast. An elder with white hair trembles for a long time. The elder on guard speaks solemnly. The strength of these two ferocious beasts far surpasses us humans, and the current strongest third-rank cultivator. Issue a notice. Accelerate the evacuation of civilians. Also, notify that senior from Mount Hueter make contact. See if we can win their favor. He pauses, his tone turning icy. If we can establish good relations, we can meet any ordinary demands. But if they are like that multi-headed beast in secure country, the elder doesn't finish, but everyone present has a glint of solemnity in their eyes. That multi-headed ferocious beast demanded the entire secure country provide it with resources, offering cultivators training materials every day. Everyone knows secure country is merely clinging to life, Suddenly, the screen signal cuts out. Complete darkness. Meanwhile, in the forest at this moment, you lie quietly in the woods, watching the two great beasts that have been bloodily battling for hours, waiting patiently. Who knew this wait would last 2 days and 2 nights? In the morning of the third day, you watch the two beasts, their movements clearly slowing. The golden light bursts from your eyes. The entire beach and lake have been completely stained with blood. Just then, from the forest on the other side of the lake, the giant wolf, 10 meters long and 3 meters tall at the shoulder, emerges, followed by sinister eyes flickering in the woods. Your heart skips a beat, and you immediately count 1, 2, 3, a full 55 wolves. After counting, your expression turns grave. Clearly, they intend to reap the spoils, but the moment that gray giant wolf appears, the raging wind tiger and Blackwater horse king stop fighting simultaneously. In tacit agreement, they both stare at the uninvited guest. Yet the next moment, a sudden change occurs, bullying us because there's no beast in the water. The lake's surface suddenly explodes. A giant crocodile, 30 meters long, bursts forth, biting straight at the giant wolf. The giant wolf barely dodges. The giant crocodile slowly crawls onto the shore, its massive eyes filled with ferocity. Both sides immediately glare at each other. Level 4 late-stage ferocious beast. Strength, 53,000. Defense, 65,000. Speed, 32,500. Skill, mysterious body slam. Crocodile tail strike. Giant crocodile pincer attack. Damn, this is a pure defensive type ferocious beast. Except for its slow speed, its strength and defense are monstrous. All three skills are strength enhancing. The atmosphere instantly falls into a strange silence. The Wolf King, ambushed, is completely enraged. It howls at the sky. The wolf pack behind it surges out in dense numbers, their aura soaring to the heavens. The calm is utterly shattered. The Gale Wind Tiger reacted the fastest. It suddenly braced itself, directly clawed out one of the giant python's eyes. The giant python let out a pain roar. Its front half shot up over 20 meters high, an imposing and terrifying roar. The two overlords, already utterly exhausted, were about to fight to the death. On the other side, the wolf pack had already clashed fiercely with the giant crocodile. Night fell. The entire Xianling Great Forest, by the eerily silent lake, the ground was already a mess. At that very moment, a sharp golden light flashed in your eyes. Now, the next moment, in the perception of the four fierce beasts, a giant turtle, covered in spikes, with carapace flowing like magma, and star-red patterns, suddenly appeared. Using all its innate divine abilities at full force, it transformed into a black bolt of lightning, targeting the giant python. The Gale Wind Tiger saw you charging. A flicker of joy passed through its water-stained tiger eyes. In an instant, you bit down on the giant python's vital spot. That already barely surviving giant python suffered a fatal blow instantly. Killed Blackwater python, a late-stage fierce beast. 3 points plus 1,320. But you didn't stop. Your sharp gaze immediately fell upon the battered Gale Wind Tiger. The Gale Wind Tiger sensed your killing intent, let out a furious roar. But it knew your strength had never put it in your eyes. It directly raised its claws and slammed them viciously toward your head. Watching the claw draw closer, you only made one move, tucked your head in. HMPH. The Tiger King's massive paw struck solidly against the turtle's shell. The thorn counter ability activated. The next moment, the arrogant Gale Wind Tiger, its huge body jerked violently, then with a bang, fell straight down before you, completely lifeless. You swiftly stuck out your head and bit its vital spot, ending its life. Killed Gale Wind Tiger, a mid-stage peak fierce beast. 3 points plus 1,250. Without even glancing at the corpse behind you, or the giant crocodile across from the Wolf King, you turned around and charged recklessly into the depths of the forest. In the distance, the Wolf King and giant crocodile, locked in battle, both stopped, stunned. In just a few seconds, two forest overlords had fallen. The giant crocodile spoke in confusion. Old Wolf, defeated by a level 3 early stage turtle. The Wolf King tilted its head in a human-like manner, opened its maw and sneered, "Stupid crocodile. By your logic, the Tiger King was also defeated by that little turtle." This time, the giant crocodile really didn't get angry. It recalled the scene just now. The Tiger King struck the turtle. The turtle was unharmed, but the Tiger King itself fell. In the end, they reached a conclusion. The two overlords must have died from tribulation, and that level 3 turtle just happened to scavenge the spoils. You ran at full speed. You didn't know how long you ran before finally slowing down. You had already swallowed the vital parts of the Gale Wind Tiger. The sound of bones crunching came. Used Gale Wind ability. 3 points plus 350. You immediately checked your stats. Defense 1,385 / 3,100,000. 3 points, 2,920. You fell into deep thought. Waited for days. Took huge risks, but the harvest wasn't ideal. But then you reconsidered. Two Beast Kings had fallen. From now on, threats to you would be fewer. Sooner or later, this entire Xianling Great Forest would be your hunting ground. Just as you were planning how to defeat that Wolf King and giant crocodile, you suddenly spotted an immortal-like old man. flying swiftly through the mountain forest. At first, you thought your eyes were playing tricks and were startled. Looking closely, you realized he was skimming like a dragonfly, using the treetops for leverage. His speed was astonishing. The direction he was heading was exactly where you had fled from. Unable to resist curiosity, you quietly followed him. But not long after, you heard a mighty roar explode from 1,000 meters away. Presumptuous human cultivator, you found a high spot, and watched with interest as one man faced off against a giant bear. The old man stroked his beard, then opened his mouth and said something that made your jaw drop. What about humans? Did humans eat your honey or something? By the Supreme Lord lazy above, those old bastards tricked me. They said this beast was only a little stronger than me. This is not a little. Your gaze immediately locked onto the cultivator. Third grade initial stage, power 1800, defense 1300, speed 3200. Third grade initial stage, converted to a ferocious beast. That's only early third level. You guessed that in the human world, this old man might be considered a top expert. But in this forest, he wasn't even worth a single chop. In the distance, you watched the Bear King, over 20 meters tall, growing more and more enraged. Yet the old Taoist calmly drew a long sword. Under your astonished gaze, he pointed his sword at the bear, and shouted with full momentum, "Beast, your Taoist master is here. Lie down obediently. You are already surrounded by my unique trump card." The next moment, waves of energy that even made you feel fear surged forth. Instantly locking onto this forest, you immediately shrank back into your turtle shell. You sensed that, although this energy covered an extremely wide area, if it really came down, the chance of it heavily injuring you was not small. "Human, you dare threaten me, the king?" The black bear beat its chest, producing booming sounds. The old man pretended to be calm. "What's wrong? Isn't my unique trump card working?" The black bear looked up at the sky, and sneered, "If I were third level, I might still fear you. But now, this thing can at most wound me a little. As for you, and the humans outside the forest, HMPH. You thought to yourself, this black bear is quite intelligent. It even knows how to threaten back. Heaven is destroying me." The old man suddenly put on a tragic expression. It seems this old Taoist must use the human race's secret technique today, to settle this once and for all. After saying this, his hair and beard bristled, and he roared to the sky with full vigor, "Reinforcements, come." In that instant, a wave of pressure, that made every creature in the entire forest tremble, descended from above. You understood clearly. Facing this energy, you were certain you would be in grave danger. The black bear also clearly sensed the threat, but it still kept up its bravado. "This kind of energy, I admit it can seriously wound me, but it can't kill me. With such a wide coverage area, how much of it can actually concentrate on me?" Seeing the two sides on the verge of battle, yet locked in a delicate stalemate. Just then, the black bear's bloodshot eyes stared at the old man. "You humans seem very eager to gain the favor of us ferocious beasts." Hearing this, you immediately pricked up your ears. The old man laughed heartily, putting on a brave front. "Of course. We just don't want too much conflict. You should also note that our human race's 4 great fortresses have been completed. Most people have already moved inside. If we can coexist peacefully, that's best. If not, then we'll have no choice but to use heavy firepower to suppress you." You sneered inwardly. The real situation is definitely 100 times more dire than he says. "Sure enough," the black bear roared, "with this thing locked onto my head, in this forest, there are at least 4 others, with strength equal to mine, not counting those in the water. Are you sure you dare to use it?" One sentence left the old man speechless. Seeing he couldn't win the argument, the old man simply started acting shamelessly. "What exactly do you want? Either you defeat me, or you fight or leave. You won't do either. Are you trying to scare me to death?" Watching this scene, you thought to yourself, this old man is doomed. But what happened next almost made you roll down the hillside in shock. The black bear, which had been furious just a moment ago, the next second actually squinted its eyes, and asked in a somewhat embarrassed, low voice, "If I go with you, will your honey be enough?" The old man, who had already braced himself, stared at it in bewilderment, and asked uncertainly, "Do you want honey seasoned or not?" The giant bear's figure instantly vanished from its spot, clearly already on all fours, ready to follow. Then, an excited voice came from the forest, "As long as it's sweet, I'd the king like it all." Tarhar. One man and one bear hit it off instantly. The old man agreed to provide all the wind power he could eat. The black bear agreed to help the human fend off any beasts he could defeat. Watching them, both wore expressions of "I got the better deal." They walked out of the forest. You were completely stunned. It took you a long time to snap out of it. So, just like that, I've lost another formidable rival. You felt the terrifying aura looming overhead gradually dissipate. Only then did you poke your head out. After this experience, you gained a new understanding of humanity's top-tier weapons. Heavy firepower could severely wound a level 4 beast, but killing one would be extremely difficult. Once a beast reached level 5, all the thermal weapons on Blue Heart would likely become completely useless. By then, individual strength would decide everything. You began to calculate. Now, in this forest, the only threats to you were the Wolf King and the giant crocodile. Having figured it out, you sniffed the air and strode toward the territory of the Black Bear King, who had just been lured away by Honey. Half an hour later, you appeared on his turf. You headed straight for a small lake and plunged right in. Then, you discovered in ecstasy that this place was practically your paradise. The lake was packed with level 2 and level 3 beasts, the density far higher than the big lake you had stayed in before. In an instant, he understood that the Black Bear King was the overlord of the land, and his combat power dropped underwater, so this lake had barely been exploited. The strongest thing in the lake was nothing more than a peak level 3 mutated water creature at the bottom. You waited for your innate divine ability to cool down, then dove straight down and killed it instantly. Killed a peak level 3 beast. Free points plus 870. Consume the beast. Free points plus 320. Then you began your own hunting spree. The entire lake instantly became your cultivation resource pool. Killed a thunder dragon shrimp mid-level 3 beast. Free points plus 480. Killed a horseflesh fish mid-level 3 beast. Free points plus 460. Killed. Now, Jiang Chuan, this place is your hunting ground. For 5 whole days, Jiang Chuan never left this lake. Thanks to you, the entire lake was now faintly stained with blood, and the surface floated the corpses of giant fish dozens of meters long. Countless small fish frantically gnawed at these former overlords, saging a true feast of survival. But the next moment, all the small fish scattered in terror. A massive dark shadow slowly rose from the lake bottom. That's right, it was you, with a dragon's head and 2 feet, and a giant turtle's body. For these 5 days, you hadn't slept a wink, just hunting nonstop. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, anything alive, you killed it all. The small ones you swallowed whole as snacks. Now, as you fully surfaced, your new body was revealed to the world for the first time in its entirety. 15 meters in diameter, weighing at least 5 tons. Just lying there gave people an indescribable sense of weight and pressure. 3 meters tall, with an overwhelming sense of oppression. On your pitch-black turtle shell, rows of sharp bone spikes stood like inverted blades, orderly and fierce. Your blood-red eyes slowly faded from the killing intent of the hunt, turning into a deep, azure blue. Your gaze was so lively it didn't seem like a beast's, but with every breath you took, bright red stripes lit up across your entire body, as if molten lava surged within you. Attributes you focus your mind. Name, Jiang Chuan. Growth stage, race is Shu Lu Zhu Dui. Early level 3, strength 2,500,000, defense 1,385,310,000, speed 2,000, 5,000, free points 65,050, innate divine ability, savage kill lasts 10 seconds, all attributes increase tenfold, lasts 1 hour, defense attribute increase tenfold, can reflect all strength with 100% damage. 5 days of unrestrained hunting had brought you over 65,000 free points. You lounged lazily on the beach, starting to plan. If you poured all your points into a single attribute, you might be able to rise to the heavens in one step, directly charging to the peak of level 3, or even touching the threshold of level 4. But after mulling it over for a long time, you still decided to play it safe. Comprehensive development is the true path. You glanced at the fish in the lake, still frantically scrambling for food, and a faint, unreadable smile curled at the corner of your mouth. Wonder if you 3 will give me a surprise. That's right, over these 5 days, you deliberately left behind 3 water beasts, small in size, but already at the mid-stage of level 3 in strength. You were cultivating combat power. Feeling your stomach stretched to the point of bursting, you helplessly shake your head. The turtle's nature kicked in. Full and sleepy time to allocate points. You issued the command, add 20,000 each to strength and speed, and dump the rest into defense. Life or death, the choice is made. Growth stage, race, blood-ranked turtle. Peak level 3. Strength, 200,050,000. Defense, 389,031,000,000. Speed, 200,050. 000. Free points, 0. Innate divine ability, violent slaughter. Indeed, peak level 3. You were stunned, then you quickly figured it out. Though no single attribute was maxed out, your overall strength had skyrocketed, directly pushing you to this level. Not bad, this feels great. Drowsiness washed over you. You couldn't hold on any longer. Forget all that. First, get some sleep. So you stayed on this beach, littered with the remains of slain beasts, and fell into a deep sleep. 2 days later, you opened your azure blue eyes. Your gaze immediately shot toward the lake bed. Good, just as expected. The 3 water beasts you had nurtured had already surged to the late stage of level 3, but the lake's surface was still covered with the corpses of fierce beasts. They could still train a bit more. No rush, let them compete a while longer. So you turn your attention to the vast, endless forest before you. With your growing strength, your perception had become absurdly sharp. You easily detected a surge of energy deep in the forest, A mid-stage level 3 fluctuation. What are you waiting for? The hunt begins. You transformed into a streak of black shadow, charging straight ahead with reckless abandon. Killed golden fur lion, mid-stage level 3. Free points plus 860. Staring at the 5-meter-long lion before you, you didn't hesitate, you opened your mouth and bit down. Devoured golden fur lion, mid-stage level 3. Free points plus 470. During those 2 days of slumber, your insides were like a furnace, frantically digesting all the beasts you had swallowed before, directly making your body a size larger. After finishing this appetizer, you continued scouring the forest for those high-level eggs, energy beacons. In your eyes, their blazing energy fluctuations were practically waving at you frantically, stoking your battle lust to new heights. Now, even if you ran into the Green Wolf King or the Bear King, you'd dare to face those two head-on. The entire Xianling Great Forest had become your hunting ground. The 9-mile Wind Peak Master was fully confident. You still kept to the rules, not stepping into the Green Wolf King's territory. After all, just the Bear King's domain alone spanned hundreds of kilometers, enough for you to train. Another 7 days passed. Under your carpet-style search and hunt, within the Bear King's territory, beasts above the peak of level 2 were nearly all wiped out by you. You didn't even spare those at the mid-stage of level 1. The reason it took 7 days was that you also had to play porter, dragging the massive beast carcasses, one by one, back to the lake, to feed the 3 water beasts you were raising. That morning, you had already wandered to the edge of the Bear King's territory. You caught the scent in the air, the poisonous aura belonging to the Green Wolf King. So you didn't go any further, turned around, and headed back. Back at the lake, you looked at the 3 beasts in the water, now at the peak of level 3, and sneered inwardly. Time to test the results. A 5-meter-long river clam sensed your presence, and its shell snapped shut with a clang. Completely still, the other 2 ferocious fish, over a meter long, were so terrified they frantically fled through the water. Innate divine ability, explosive kill. You couldn't be bothered with idle torque. You activated your divine ability directly. Your eyes instantly turned blood red. Like a bolt of black lightning, you plunged into the water. Killed old man crab, peak level 3. Free points plus 860. At the lakebed, you ripped open his clam shell with one claw, tore off dozens of gin of clam meat, swallowed it whole, consumed old man crab, peak level 3. Free points plus 420. Lately you've noticed a pattern. The concentrated stuff is the real essence. If you eat an entire one, the free points you get are about half of what you'd earn from killing it. No matter how big it is, if you can't finish it, it's useless. Under your berserk state, the other 2 fish stood no chance. They were instantly defeated by your turtle claws. The hunt was over. The blood red faded from your eyes, restoring their azure hue. You surfaced, looking at the vast number of high-level ferocious beasts still floating in the lake. Their corpses. You knew in your heart that before long, new strong ones would rise here again. But so what? By then you would have already outgrown this petty place. Attributes: name, Jiang Xuan. Growth stage: race, Chu Lu Zhu Bui. Peak level 3 strength, 2,500,000. Defense, 3,890,310,000. Speed, 2,200,050,000. Free points, 82,500. Innate divine ability, massacre. Staring at that massive pool of over 80,000 free points, you didn't hesitate, pumped all points into strength and speed. The rest went into defense. Next moment, a flash of cyan black light engulfed you. Half an hour later, the light dissipated. You slowly open your eyes. Name, Jiang Zhu. Adult stage: race, Chu Lu Zhu Bui. Mid-level 4 strength, 5,500,000. Below evolution standard. Defense, 9,740,310,000. Speed, 5,050,000. Below evolution standard. Free points, 0. Innate divine ability, massacre. Taunt after activation. Within 1 hour, all ferocious beasts within 1,000 meters will attack you. You jumped straight from peak level 3, skipping early level 4, and landed right at mid-level 4. You could even feel that you were just 1 step away from peak level 4. Your gaze fell on that star-grade ability. Taunt, a group still, sounds a bit useless, you muttered to yourself. But the next moment, your mind spun sharply. Your massive body trembled. Wait a second. What if I activate massacre first, then taunt? A battlefield meat grinder. A self-propelled defensive tower on the battlefield. Once you figured that out, a slightly eerie grin cracked across your enormous turtle face. Tahara roar. Green Wolf King, Giant Croc King, am coming. You let out a thunderous roar, declaring war on the kings of this forest. Issuing your challenge, the next moment, you transformed into a massive black silhouette and charged straight toward the Green Wolf King's territory. Along the way, trees that took several men to encircle were like toothpicks before you. They toppled with a single collision. 10,000 beasts yield. Nothing dares to stand in your way. Just as you were about to reach the Green Wolf King's domain, that bastard had already sensed your arrival, standing on a hillside, glaring at you fiercely. At the same time, Another powerful aura emerged. It was the giant Croc King. Those two had actually joined forces. You stopped 1,000 meters away from them. And stopped. Turtle King. The Green Wolf King shouted at you. I've already made a deal with the giant Croc King. In this immortal ridge great forest, all lakes belong to the turtle. All land belongs to the wolf. Staring at those two self-assured opponents, you activated taunt without a word, and answered them with action. Sorry, I want it all. A ring of invisible ripples spread from your body. The Green Wolf King, who had been keeping his composure, had his wolf eyes turn bloodshot in an instant, falling completely into madness. Oh whoa. The Croc King was the same. Both of them lost their minds at once, and charged at you like a pair of frenzied beasts. Massacre. A dark gleam flashed across your black turtle shell. Asterisk crack exclamation asterisk. The Green Wolf King's claw slammed onto your back. Then his own claw was heavily injured. The immense force of the rebound made blood spill from his mouth. He lost his life on the spot. Killed the Green Wolf King. Stimulated mid-stage. Free points plus 1,600. And the other side. The evil king opened its serrated maw to bite you, but you neither dodge nor flinch. The next second, its massive upper and lower beastly jaw teeth shattered. Seeing it wasn't dead, you backhanded it with a claw strike and killed it. The Colossal King, 4 seasons late stage, free points plus 2,200. But this wasn't over yet. Under the taunt effect, hundreds of green wolf underlings charged at you wave after wave. Your limbs sank deep into the earth, like an immovable black mountain range. Then came a one-sided slaughter. One giant wolf after another crashed into you, and was rebounded, losing its life. Killed Green Wolf 3rd stage mid-stage, free points plus 560. Killed Green Wolf 2nd stage peak, free points plus 440. Killed. Looking at the piled beast corpses at your feet, your eyes showed not a trace of emotion. The hallmark of a cold-blooded creature was vividly displayed in you, and just as you were hunting with all your might, a group of beings watched through a cold screen, witnessing your ferocity. Xianxia Eastern Fortress Command Center, a group of big shots stared at the satellite image of that massive black tortoise-like figure. Their expressions were grave. Sigh, is this beast's appearance a blessing or a curse? One general sighed. Just then, a disheveled old man suddenly spoke up. Xianling Great Forest, isn't that near the Northwest Demon Fortress? Seeing everyone look at him, the old man stroked his beard, with a look of wisdom. Isn't that old geezer Huxian guarding the Northwest? I heard a few days ago. He even convinced a 4 seasons late stage black bear to serve as the front guard. The lead officer frowned. So what? The old man grinned. Relax. Right now, of the 4 major fortresses nationwide, the safest is the Northwest. With a 3rd-rank cultivator, plus a 4 seasons late stage beast king, it's as solid as iron. Everyone nodded subtly. That was true. With Bear King stationed there, the Northwest Fortress was indeed as stable as Mount Tide. Seeing everyone reassured, the old man added, how about, let that old geezer Huxian make another trip? Our eastern and northern fortresses also lack powerful reinforcements. The moment the words fell, suddenly the communicator on the table blared with an exasperated voice, don't talk nonsense. I'm not going. I tell you, against this kind of beast, my unique trump cards and secret techniques have kept up my sleeve are all useless. Besides, Bear King just sensed it. That old thing told me he can't beat this guy either. With that, the communicator went silent. The entire command center fell into dead silence. In everyone's mind, a single word flashed that sent chills down their spines. 5th rank beasts. In the Xianling Great Forest, the hunt continued. You realized standing still to repel them was too inefficient, so you began to move. With your massive body, wherever you went, you exuded intimidation. Those weaker beasts watching from afar, as soon as they were swept by your taunt wave, instantly lost their minds, and charged at you recklessly, then fell beneath your tortoise shell. 1 hour later, the innate divine abilities effect ended. The surviving beasts snapped away. Seeing the corpses everywhere and you like a demon god, they fled in terror in all directions. You couldn't be bothered to chase. Your gaze locked onto a several dozen ton, mountain-like giant elephant. Submit to your king. Your voice wasn't loud, but carried an unquestionable authority. That elephant, several times larger than you and at 3rd stage mid-stage, lowered its head without hesitation. Trembling as it worked toward you, move all the remains here, to that lake where Bear King used to stay. You commanded. All right. The giant elephant, with its dozens of metal-on tusks, began the most grueling hauling job of its life, while you turned to feast on the Green Wolf King's corpse. Consumed Green Wolf King, stimulated mid-stage, free points plus 620. Over the next few days, you must search this entire forest, from beginning to end. The reason you gather all regrets, 'tis only one purpose. Use the regrets of all high-standing beasts in this forest, to cultivate the final, and strongest, combat beast. In the following days, the eyes of all high-ranking officials in Xianxia were locked tightly on the Xianling Great Forest, and the satellite feed, a massive black tortoise with wings, tirelessly shuttled through the forest, and behind you, hundreds, even thousands of beasts of all kinds followed, as if bewitched. chasing you with reckless abandon, only to fall one by one. After you defeated nearly every beast in the forest, you finally returned to that lake. The scene before the lake was a mess, and the sandy shore, a mountain of beast carcasses piled up. The lake water was also filled with remains, forcing the entire lake's water level to rise by a full layer. Watching this valley of corpses, you nodded in satisfaction. The Wuxia high officials staring at the screen, at the heaped beast remains, felt their breaths quicken. Now, beast meat is extremely valuable, a globally recognized scarce resource. These remains before them were worth an incalculable fortune. You ignored any potential prying eyes and returned directly to the forest. Attribute, name Xianxia, adult stage, race, Chulu, blood, 4 seasons mid-stage, strength, 0.0000500, defense, 97,403,100,000, speed, 500,005,000, free points, 185,600, divine ability, explosive kill, quake step, taunt. Seeing those 185,600 free points, you gave the final command and points to defense, max it out. I do not deceive. When the black light faded, you steadily stepped into the 4 seasons peak. The next moment, a long-awaited voice echoed in your mind. Evolution available. Finally, it's here. In your consciousness, countless phantom forms of evolution appeared instantly. Dale bloodthirsty tortoise, mountain-pushing tortoise, Wuxia, Kanghai tortoise. Each option radiated a formidable aura. You even saw the legendary dragon sun carrying a stone steel, majestic and domineering. But in the end, your gaze locked onto a pitch-black dragon tortoise phantom, a kilometer in diameter, like a moving continent. Evolution, Bashan Hangui. That's the one. Instantly, an endless surge of new black light completely engulfed your 20-meter body. Then the light began to expand, as if a newborn power was gestating within. During these days of your slumbering evolution, the outside world was far from idle. 3 major events occurred globally. The Yamada no Orochi of Sakura country raged for unknown reasons, triggering a lava disaster, causing massive civilian casualties. The beautiful country reached an agreement with a Tier 7 Beast King, worshipping it nationwide. The Bear country also allied with a peak Tier 6 mutated Golden Bear. Meanwhile, Dragon country also faced 2 major events. The northern fortress was besieged by sea beasts, and the brink of destruction. At the critical moment, a round, chubby black and white panda, 50 meters tall, suddenly appeared. It merely swept its gaze, both cute and fierce, and the million-strong sea beast army scattered in panic, retreating back into the sea. From that day on, the northern fortress suddenly became the safest place in Dragon Country, because that panda was at peak Tier 4, and the verge of breaking through to Tier 5 at any moment, and its only condition for staying was, never work voluntarily, unless provided with food and lodging. The Black Bear King far away in the northwest fortress strongly endorsed this. In return, these 2 national treasure guardians often ventured into the wild, hunting various beasts for the fortress. Gradually, a rhyme spread through Dragon Country, big black bear, all dark and hairy, a jar of honey for a spider, the panda, chubby and merry. You dare let me pet the bamboo shoots. Bear 1 and Bear 2, the myth in the hearts of the people under heaven. The second major event is that the eastern fortress is in dire peril. Dark shadows gather in the seawater near the coast. Clearly, a beast king is commanding the tide. The defensive line of the eastern fortress is already facing a severe test. This morning, the oppressive aura that had shrouded the entire Immortal Ridge Great Forest suddenly cleared. That massive new black light, which had expanded to 100 meters in diameter, suddenly vanished toward that lock. You awakened. A fierce aura from the primordial ancient times exploded from your body. Your size surged to 25 meters. The pitch-black bone spurs on your back grew even more sharp, and those star-like crimson patterns, like magma, showed a tendency to spread across your entire body. Attributes name, Jiang Xuan. Race, Overlord Tyrant Crocodile, early 5th grade. Strength, 5,100,000. Defense, 10,500,000. Speed, 50,100,000. Faith, 0,100,000. Free points, 173,205. Ultimate evolution, kill a 5th grade Beast King. Completion 100%, kill a 6th grade Beast Commander. Multiply by 50, kill a 7th grade Beast Emperor. Multiply by 10, kill an 8th grade Beast Sovereign. Multiply by 3, kill a 9th grade Beast God. Multiply by 1, reward, Star-Crushing Bloodline. Innate Divine Ability, Explosive Kill Tremor Sting. After mocking and clearly seeing the attribute panel, your entire body trembled slightly. A strength of 1 million, a defense of 5 million. The ancients spoke of overturning rivers and seas. Could it be that this was about to be realized through you? But unexpectedly, this evolution did not grant you any new innate divine abilities. Just as you were utterly puzzled, a new message directly appeared in your mind. Quest issued, repel the sea beasts at the eastern fortress. Completion, 0%. Reward, faith power plus 10,000. I see. You lifted your head and took one last look at this forest where you were reborn, grew, and hunted. This place had become too small for you. You let out a long, drawn-out roar. That sound was not like a farewell, but more like a goodbye. At the same time, it heralded the arrival of a new era. Roar, farewell, immortal ridge great forest. With that, you didn't look back, toward the direction of the human world. You took heavy steps forward,